Golfers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about a simple drill that you can implement within your practice, also corresponding with your iron play, that's going to allow you to make ball turf contact on a more regular basis as opposed to hitting the ground before the golf ball and then we're struggling with high iron shots, not a lot of compression that everyone wants to achieve, and also just a lack of consistency. Everyone wants to achieve consistency, but it's understanding the root cause of the problem which is giving you the most destruction within your golf swing. And I think one of the biggest things I always see on a regular basis with people who struggle with iron play is it's the position the club face is in. So what a lot of people will do is they'll diagnose the symptom at impact, but there's always a root cause of the problem. If you struggle with a steep downswing path and an open club face, early extension kicks into the equation, so we have to early extend in order to close the club face and also to try and shallow the golf club out. So if you're somebody that certainly struggles with early extension, the root cause of the problem could be the club face could be relatively open, the downswing could be relatively steep, so all amalgamates back to how much, I guess you could say, hip turn and hand depth that you've got into the top of the backswing before you obviously start the downswing. So one of the biggest issues we see on a regular basis, if you think about where the club face is positioned halfway back, the club face gets really open, so the grooves on the club face are pointing straight up towards the sky. This left wrist gets relatively extended, where the knuckles get closer to the wrist angle. Club face gets really open. Club face is the barometer. Wherever the club face is aiming, is we're going to have to build a swing around the position of the club face and the orientation of the club face. So if the club face is really open, what's going to happen on the way down? If I open the club face and then if I add shaft lean coming into impact to the head of the club head, the face is going to be orientated so far to the right. And if I lean the handle back the way, that's going to close the club face. So it's understanding, okay, the root cause of the problem is the open club face. So here's a really good drill that you can implement within your practice. If you open up the club face too early, the right palm goes up towards the sky too early. So it's almost like catching raindrops. You're catching the raindrops a little bit too early. For me to almost autocorrect that coming down to impact, I've got to kind of spill those angles out too early, where into the downswing position, we want the right palm to stay towards the ground for the duration until our body starts to extend up the way our right arm loses a little bit of flex as it extends through impact. But we see too many golfers get to the top of the backswing, club face gets really open, then they release that right arm too early, so the right palm is going towards the sky. We get this right elbow slightly too far behind the right hand, and then from there we have a lot of loft at impact, but remember that's a mechanism to try and close the club face. What we need to establish to start off is fix the root cause, and that is the club face. Instead of the club face being really open, where the grooves point too much towards the sky, at the back of your left wrist, so the knuckles on your left hand go straight up towards the sky too early, where the left wrist gets cupped. What when you do this drill again, so as you walk the club back, you feel the right palm's a little bit more towards the ground. That's going to help close that club face in the backswing. It's also going to help it square up. Then as you get to the top of the backswing, it's almost the feeling your right palm goes a little bit more towards the sky. If you get really cuppy, where the club face gets really open, so this would look like an open position. Toe the club that is behind the shaft. If I flatten that left wrist, the club face gets relatively square. If I bow that left wrist, where the back of the left wrist is going towards the sky, it's going to start to orientate the face in a little bit more close position. Come back, try and feel like your right palm stays down towards the ground a little bit longer into the takeaway. You also feel that you've got a little bit more of an arch in your left wrist, where that starts to flex down towards the down, so the knuckles of your left hand start to face the ground a little bit longer. The feeling as you get to the top of the backswing, you're balancing the weight of the shaft on your right palm. That's a good feeling. The left wrist goes more towards the sky. That's a good feeling. Right palm goes more towards the sky, and as you can see from there, that's just going to automatically create an exaggerated feeling of this club face getting a little bit more closed at the top of the backswing. And then as I come into impact, let's get to the golf ball first, then the wrist, then the elbow. We want to do the opposite. We want to feel like the elbow goes forward first, then the wrist, fingers. So the elbow goes first, then the wrist, then the fingers. Many people who scoop and cast the club coming into impact, we add lots of loft. Fingers get to the golf ball first, then the wrist, then the elbow. We want to reverse that on its head. We want to go elbow first, so I feel like my right elbow's driving close to my right hip. Stays ahead of my fingers. That's going to keep this arch in my right wrist, and it's also going to allow us to maintain two things. It's going to allow me to maintain a little bit more flex in my right arm. It's going to allow the club to hit the ground after impact. The tendency is the fingers get to the golf ball first, then the wrist, then the elbow falls back. You can see from there my right arm starts to straighten a little bit too early. So what you want to do is you want to create this feeling of the right palm stays on the golf club back, feeling that the right palm stays a little bit more down towards the ground. That's an exaggerated feeling to try and get that club face to close. Feeling like the weight of the club sits in your right palm. Another good analogy is trying to feel like you're holding a tray of plates. And it's going to set us up in a prime position to create this shaft lean that everyone wants to achieve. And the feeling from there, as we come into impact, I'm going to feel like my right elbow moves first. But as you come down into impact, what you're going to feel like from there, the right palm stays on the shaft. Right elbow's moving closer to your right hip. My right arm's a little bit more tucked behind my left arm. My shoulders are a little bit more closed, and my wrist goes next, and the fingers always stay behind the wrist. So feeling from here is right palm more towards the ground. Another great drill you could use, take your left hand, put it in front of you. What you're going to try and do from there is, as you come into impact, you're going to try and get your right elbow to hit your left hand. As you can see from there, my only focus is trying to drive my right elbow into my left hand. Flex position of my right arm. The wrist maintains its position. It creates a little bit more extension coming into the golf ball. Coming into impact, if I just retrace my impact position from there, I've still got the same flex in my right arm as I come down. I'm not releasing that right arm in an extended position too early, where the fingers get to the golf ball before the wrist, the elbow falls back. I'm going to turn that sequence on its head. What you're going to do from here, as you work the club back, then as you come back down into impact, the elbow gets to the golf ball first, so my right elbow's moving more down in connection with my right hip. Just create this shaft lean that everyone wants to achieve. But once you get the face in the right position, then all you need to do from there is add in a little bit of body rotation, keep the flex in the right arm. And from there, right palm's a little bit more down towards the ground. Right elbow is moving ahead of your right wrist. Sets you up for a better impact position. Try and keep the right palm more towards the ground for the duration into the impact position. That's a great feeling to develop a little bit more of a better impact position.